on through Nebraska, headed back from Hillsboro, Oregon, and I felt what felt to be intermittent miss 2 or 3 times, so I started looking for a place to pull over and seeing where I was at, and this popped up. Check engine light came on, and I usually read it on the auto sync. This time I read it on the Edge CTS3 P0208. That leads me to believe it's the number 8 injector connector. 424,000 miles. I've not changed that one yet, even though I'm not really in a mood for it. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and jump on it and get this knocked out. All it is changing the injector connector. If you've not had to do it, if you've got I don't know about the earlier or newer trucks, but the 17s, 18s, 19s, if you're watching this video, you may have already heard they've got an issue with the injector connectors. If you go into the dealership to buy one, they're all over the place. I have given 145, I think, for the first one, or maybe it was the second one that I bought. But I'm going to leave a link in this description where you can get them on Amazon for $60 to $70. Is what they were the last time I looked, but the price constantly changes. So doing this connector will be about the same as doing the number 4. It's going to be right back here on the driver's side of the engine, all the way to the back. This pipe has to come off. Those 2 fuel lines have to come off, and this plastic cover has to come off. So what I've got, the fuel line disconnect tools. I have the injector connector that I ordered from Amazon. The link to this is in the description. I have a 7/16 socket to take the intercooler pipe off, and I have some miscellaneous pliers here and a small torch to heat shrink the ends. So the first thing I'm going to do is get the pipe off and start getting the fuel lines disconnected. You don't want to take that all the way off, just get it plenty loose enough that it will be able to pull off, because there is a lip around this. So I don't know where the oil come from, but get a screwdriver. And just don't get forceful. Just barely get up under here and pry that rubber loose. Go ahead and take this loose a little bit more. Make sure it's got plenty of room to spread. I would like to pop the clamp loose, but I don't want to disturb too much of this because I don't have replacements if I mess something up. But there's that. I saw it come loose. There. Now, while I'm in here, there's something else I would like to talk about, and that is a PCV reroute that I've never done. But if you'll look how oily that is, all of that is through all that oil has ran through the intercooler and all that stuff. That's not good. You know, all it is taking this hose and rerouting it to a catch can or the outside atmosphere. That would keep all of this from going back through your engine. Do I think it's worth it? Yes. Do I think it's something everybody needs to do? Yes. Why have I not done it yet? We'll call it laziness and get onto the injector connector. Another thing that makes this job a whole lot easier is a tire step. That is worth its weight in gold when you need it. So as long as I don't knock you guys over, you should be able to see this. There's 2 little like wings on the back of this. Just pull these up, and they will pop off just like that. I'm gonna lay them out of the way. The other one doesn't have the wings on it, but it will come off just as easy. Make sure your ignition is off. Make sure the ignition is in the off position. You don't want fuel spraying out everywhere whenever these come loose. This is route 1 for this one, and last time this took me about 20 minutes to get these lines off. They were very, very aggravating. There's one. Let's see if we can get this one. There's that one. Thing we're going to do is change out to 7/16 for a 10mm on a short extension. About like that. And there's 2 bolts we want to get. One right here. They're not, but you can't hardly see it. I just had to feel for it. Okay, so I got this bolt out. I got this bolt out. Sorry you guys are upside down, but kind of the best I can do at the moment. I may not have got this one all the way out. Yeah, they're all the way out. So get that out just like that. And like I say, I'm sorry if I'm jiggling you guys around a lot, but really hard to do with one person. Number 2. Number 4 with the water wires on it. That's the one I've already done. Number 6. And the one we're working on today, number 8, right here. So we're going to unplug that, cut the wires, wire the new plug on, plug it back in, and we should be good to go on down the road. Alright, on this clip, it doesn't really matter if you break it, but you got to get it way back in order to be able to get that off. So just like that, I broke it. Just take and wiggle that back. Now you can push this button down, and I felt it unclick, and now when I get both hands on it, I can slip it right out. So I did get both hands on it, got it unplugged. There's the old one. And remember, when you cut these, cut it as close to this plug as you can, because if you cut it on back here, I was trying to talk a guy through it not long ago and he wanted to cut it way back here. If it happens again, you need as much wire hanging out there as you can. Don't ever cut the wire off, the excess wire off the harness. Just cut it as close to that as you can. I highly prefer to cut these one at a time, but I don't think it would hurt anything if you cut both of them at one time. There's that. Now this coating right here on it, we're gonna find a razor blade and trim this coating back. Make it where we can get on it good with the crimpers. There's a lot of overcast out today, but it's still freaking hot. So the camera got hot and shut down because I wasn't thinking about it, and I was sticking it right down in there next to the hot engine, and it didn't like it. So here's what I've done. So I don't know if any of you guys use these, the solder shrink connectors. That's what I call them. You heat them up with a heating torch and they shrink down. Now, normally I carry an assortment of butt connectors and stuff like that with me, but this time I crimped it wrong, the wire pulled out, always do a really good tug test to make sure that that wire is crimped in there really good. And I didn't have another one. I missed it, and the butt connector pulled off. These are all that I had, so that's what I used. I slid them up on the wires. I'll show you. You just slide both ends of the wire in, get this solder hot, and it will heat, shrink down and solder together. And then it's got glue strips to keep the moisture out. And then I went ahead and put a little tape on this one. So now we come back in here and plug this guy in. You just push and it will click and go right in. When it all clicks together and you can't pull it back off, then it's clicked on. So I'm gonna put a little tape on this one, on this wire, just because I feel better that way. And it'll lay right on top just like that. Not a big fan of that, but it is what it is. It's what I got. And then I'll start putting the cover back on, plug a few lines in, give her a test fire. I'm gonna take this plastic cover, slip it back in right back here, and bring it back forward and kind of get it somewhat in the position what it was when I started messing with it. And the bolts down here, I want to make sure they line up and that they're not sticking down too far and getting all up in the way, which is what's happening right now. Right like that. I'm gonna get our bolt started on the bottom. These rubber things right here, they actually pop on to some little balls that are on studs under the valve cover. So there's both of those. And it's got the bolts somewhat lined up to where they need to be. Bring my fuel lines back around. And all there is to this is pushing them back on until they click. Right like that. Try to make sure you don't get any dirt or grime in those fuel lines. And if they don't want to go, back off, straighten them up, and just don't force them. There's that one. Gotta get them lined up pretty much perfectly straight. Now, go ahead and snug these two bolts back down tight. They do not have to be super tight. Alright. Like I said, I'm kind of hot and aggravated right now, so I almost forgot when I was picking my tools up. Do not forget to put these back on. Make sure it's seated up tight against the turbo. Swap our 10mm back for a 7/16. This doesn't have to be horribly tight either, but it does need to be tight enough to keep it from blowing off. But the spring in there does a lot of the work. All right. Alright, so I'm not going to clear the code or any of that stuff. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. It's still showing 163 miles to reduced engine power or whatever it was. See how she feels. smooth as silk. So let's cut it off. Alright, now that the Edge CTS3 is up, let's hit diagnostics. Trouble codes. Clear all. Hear the truck doing this thing. Continue. No trouble codes available. Let's fire it back up and see what happens. Check engine light is off. Smooth as silk. That was the number 8 injector connector, is what I call them, replacement. 424,418 miles. First time that one's been done. I have done number 7 twice, number 5 once, number 4, and now number 8. And just to show you guys, it also has 130,000, or not 130,000, it also has 13,078 engine hours on it. So she's been a good one. I apologize if this video was scattered out and bouncy and couldn't get good angles and all, but it is really freaking hot, and I'm really not in the mood for it. And I'm really in Odessa, Nebraska at the South Brothers truck stop. So, you know, but on this stuff, on these injector connectors, I'm no ASE certified mechanic. I just happen to figure that out. And like I say, I'll leave links to everything in the description, hoping it'll help you out. It's not, the only ones that would be a really tough job is number 1 and number 3, because they're so hard to get at because of the EGR pipe. But what I just did will get you to all 4 of them, 2, 4, 6, and 8 on the driver's side. And number 5 and 7 are the easiest 2 to get to on the other side. Number 1 and 3 are the hardest to get to on the other side. And if you can take those covers off, clip a couple wires, put a new plug on, and plug it back in, you should be able to get rid of that code too. Now, another thing that I do want to bring up is, even if you just are not mechanically inclined at all, you just don't want to mess with it, you know, a lot of people just do not want to mess with it, carry a couple of those injector connectors with you anyway, because I do know multiple people who have got to a shop and had to wait 3 days to get the connector. So go ahead, and if you've got a 17th or 19 L5P Duramax, put a couple in your glove box. It's cheap insurance. Anyway, I hope this video turns out alright. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like, share, and subscribe button, and come back and send me another video.